set a new standard for the draft, created a new experience for our fans that we think will be extraordinary, and we are confident that Dallas will raise that bar even further. So I'm happy to introduce Charlotte Jones Anderson, who is going to give her view of what to expect in Dallas. Again, the ownership was very supportive, and we're all very excited to be going to Dallas next April for the draft. Charlotte.
Thank you. Well, on behalf of the Dallas Cowboys, the City of Dallas, the City of Arlington, and the City of Frisco, we are so excited that the NFL has given us this opportunity to host the draft in April of next year. And we have had so many great civic leaders in Dallas and across from Arlington and beyond that have really done a lot of hard work here, hopefully giving a lot of ideas to the staff at the NFL, to Peter and his team. And we really think we have come up with an incredible idea and concept that will really make AT&T Stadium shine, but also will deliver a unique experience that is unlike anything that you have seen thus far at the NFL draft. But I think this is what the draft process is all about. It allows the cities to show their unique personality and hopefully invite not only fans from all over our region in Dallas and the Metroplex and beyond, but from those from out of state. That we welcome them to come to Dallas, to come to Arlington, to AT&T Stadium, to show their fandom and be a part of the draft in April. So you'll see a little bit different variation of it when you get there. A lot of those surprises are in store and will be released throughout the next few months. But again, we'd like to thank all of those who worked hard on this, but most importantly, the NFL for giving Dallas and the City of Arlington and AT&T Stadium the opportunity to host the draft. Thank you.
Any questions for Charlotte before she goes? Because I'm sure she doesn't want to stay for the rest of this time.
It's all you.
Okay, I'm sure you know. Okay, so we had a very productive set of meetings in New York here over the last couple of days. We had reports from various committees, including the competition committee. Very excited about the season that we have ongoing right now. We reviewed the 6 weeks that we've played to date and the margin of victory. We talked about the penalties per game. We talked about our game presentation and the changes that we've made and how that's worked. Talked about the focus on officiating. All very positive very positive feedback on the game. We also spent a great deal of time talking about our partnerships. We extended a partnership and expanded a partnership with Ticketmaster that we think will be very fan-friendly, that will give our fans a better opportunity to buy tickets on a secure basis and give that to them on greater platforms, which we think will be very positive. And as always, we had a report on our health and safety and our initiatives there and the impact that that's having on our game. Lastly, we had a special visitor today. We had the Commissioner of the NYPD, Jimmy O'Neill, and his Chief of Police, Terry Monahan. We have been at, and I specifically have had conversations with them for several months. So this has been quite a while in the making to try to understand how we can continue to expand the relationships between our clubs, our players, our communities, and the NFL. And he was very helpful in giving us insight into what their initiatives are here with the NYPD, initiatives that are going on in other parts of the country, of which I saw firsthand down in Miami as an example last week and saw in Philadelphia recently. The relationship between the players and our communities and our law enforcement is very important to us. So that was very helpful. And yesterday, as you know, I made a brief comment about and came down to see you. I'm sure there'll be more questions about our meeting with the players and owners yesterday. We also spent a great deal of time with our owners alone today, discussing our efforts with our players. I would tell you that there's a great deal of support for the efforts that our players have identified. Not only support, but a recognition these are important issues for our communities. They're American issues and certain things that we really want to, as clubs and as a league, want to not only support but also be a part of and try to help lead with our players. I think those are the issues. I would tell you, though, just on another issue that we spent a great deal of time talking about this morning was how much we believe everyone should stand for the national anthem. That's an important part of our policy. It's also an important part of our game that we all take great pride in. And it's also important for us to honor our flag and to our country, and we think our fans expect us to do that. And so that is something that we continue to focus on this morning, but really talking a lot about the opportunity that exists with our players to try to go and really make a difference in our communities in a positive way. So I'll let you take questions.
The president this morning tweeted that both you and he have disrespect for the country. Is he wrong about that?
Well, as I just said, we respect our country, respect our flag, respect our national anthem. I think you look at our clubs and what they do on a daily basis. I think you look at our players and what they did and how they participate in that. We all feel very strongly about our country and our pride, and we're going to continue to do that.
January 8, 2015, David Letterman, he himself expressed support for flag burning. So it doesn't make any
Well,
sense.
listen, I understand we're focusing on what we can do and what we should be doing as an NFL. I think we have a great opportunity here with our players to really work together and to try to help and make differences in our community. Things that we all believe are necessary to do. And that's what we're going to do.
In the game operations manual, the players should be on the field for the national anthem, stand at attention, hold the helmets in their hand. It's not a rule, but it's in the policy, so why not make it a rule? Since fans seem to want it, ratings seem to be down because of the protest, why not make it a rule?
Well, I think one of the things we need to keep a focus on is, again, we believe that our players should stand for the national anthem. That's an important part of our game and our moments, and we believe in that. I think we also have to keep focus on this. We have about 6 or 7 players that are involved with this protest at this point. And this is something that what we try to do is deal with the underlying issue and understand what it is that they're protesting and try to address that matter. And so let me finish, if you can. So the important thing for us is to be able to do that and take that opportunity to make real differences in our community. And that is really what's going to ultimately be the important aspect for us long term, because this is a long-term issue. We need to make sure we do that in the right way.
Would you agree that the image is suffering because of
I understand where our fans feel about this issue, and we feel the same way about the importance of our flag, about the importance of patriotism, and I believe our players feel that way. They will state to you, and they have stated to everyone publicly, they are not doing this in any way to be disrespectful to the flag, but they also understand how it's being interpreted, and that's why we're trying to deal with those underlying issues.
Thank you, Roger. Jim Trotter here, ESPN.
I don't know where you are, Jim,
Right here,
because
in the middle,
Yes.
right here. You said you want the players to stand, and there's been no change to the game operations manual. My question is, what happens if an owner who still feels that he can discipline a player for taking a knee? What response will we see from the league if that were to happen?
Well, Jim, we just had 2 days of conversations with our owners, of which, this was a fair amount of the conversation. And I think our clubs all see this the same way, that we want our players to stand. We're going to continue to encourage them to stand, and we're going to continue to work on these issues in the community. We'll address issues. I can't deal with hypotheticals right now. We'll deal with those issues if they come up. But for us right now, that's our focus.
Mark Maskey?
Roger, over here.
Yeah, Mark.
At this point, what have your sponsors and the network said to you about this issue, and what do you feel the effect is on your business right now of this entire?
Yeah, Mark, we had a report on that too. Listen, we know how important this is to our sponsors, our partners, our licensees. It's important to us also. So we all share that, and we certainly are in great contact with them. We understand the issues. We want to make sure they understand our perspective of what we're doing. And in fact, if they can help us, we want them to help us in those issues. But all of this is part of the ongoing effort and understanding one another and making sure that we do the right thing in our communities and the right thing to support our players, but also do the right thing to make sure we get back to football. And in the meantime, people understand how important our country is and how important it is to make sure that we're doing things the right way to honor our country.
Roger Byron Barnett
You
from
guys are good.
WHDH in Boston. What is your reaction to the lawsuit filed against the NFL by the Aaron Hernandez family and their allegation that the NFL doesn't inform the players about the risks of CTE?
Listen, this is a matter of litigation, so that's something that's going to work its way through the litigation. I think there's been a great deal of focus on this issue of brain trauma. We've been through a great deal of litigation on this issue and settled a major case on concussion, so we'll let the lawyers handle that and deal with it. Yes.
Roger, Ron Mott, NBC News.
I'm sorry, you guys, I can't see you.
Hi,
Yes.
Roger. Ron Mott, NBC News.
Yes.
When you talk about supporting your players, what form or forms will that take? Because some people reasonably presume that if players felt that this league were truly on their side and supporting them in these causes and these concerns, that they would not take a knee. So how is this going to manifest itself going forward? Is the
Well, I
league
think
willing
that-
to put the shield on the line to get into some sticky
I think-
political and social debates?
Okay, we're not afraid of the tough conversations. That's what we're having with our players. That's what we had yesterday to make sure we understand one another and understand where they're coming from. And I think out of those discussions, they understand that the owners and the NFL really do care about their issues and what we can do to make the communities better. And so I think that's what dialogue's all about, and listening and understanding, so that we can get that kind of understanding between different parties. And that's what is complex about this, but that's why it's also really important to do, because I think that's where real change really happens, and that's the opportunity for us in our communities. We've had discussions with them for over a year, and I think we have a very good understanding of the types of things that they're interested in, how they can get support from the NFL to do that, and we want to do that. And that could be in legislative matters, that can be in the community with, can we participate in ride-alongs and try to make sure we understand what's going on in different communities across the nation. Because the problems in one market are different than the problems in another market. And so that involves the clubs and the players getting together and making sure we truly understand what's going on in those markets. And that's where we see a real impact.
All right, Roger Connell, McShane with the Fox Business Network. And I do want to ask you a business-related question to the league. One of the things we've seen in the polling this week, Gallup had numbers that showed the popularity of pro football started to come down, but they also showed there's a big political divide, whereas Republicans identifying as pro football fans down 15%, Democrats only 3%. So it doesn't directly speak to the anthem protests, but what's your reaction to those numbers, and what, if any, steps can be taken to reverse that trend?
Well, we believe doing the right thing is what you ultimately have to do. And I think listening to our players, understanding our players, trying to address those underlying issues, and making our communities better is where the real opportunity is. And that long term is going to benefit us. And so that's what our focus is, and that's how we're going to deal with it.
What about that split, though? That split between the
Does that
between the
surprise you?
parties, the
I
political.
don't think that surprises anybody. What we're trying to do is stay out of politics. We're not looking to get into politics. What we're looking to do is continue to get people focused on football.
Commissioner, you
So
said,
people come.
Commissioner,
So-
you've been talking about, you just said,
Yes. Ma'am, just a second.
thank you. Commissioner, as you said, you've been in discussions now for over a year, more discussions over the past day and a half or so. Realistically, can you tell us and tell the American people how closer you are today to resolving this?
Well, I think the fact is that we have about a half a dozen players that are protesting. We hope, and we're going to continue to work to try to put that at zero. That's what we'd like to do. But we want to make sure that we're understanding what the players are talking about, and that's complex. And we've taken the time, I personally have taken the time to go on those ride-alongs and to go and figure out what are the things in our communities that our players are expressing. And our clubs have a much better understanding of that from the meetings over the last several weeks, to hear directly from those players and do the tough work to try to understand what is it we need to accomplish together. And that's what I think is really the opportunity and what's really happening. So, yes, Judy, I see that. I can't hear you, Judy. I'm sorry.
Roger, did you come out of the meetings with the owners with an understanding that teams that have indicated they would discipline their own players for not standing will not discipline them?
No, we didn't discuss that. It wasn't necessary. We had a real focus on making sure that all of our teams understood the kind of dialogue that took place, the kind of things that they were interested in getting support from them. And there was complete support for the NFL, each club supporting their players, and continuing the dialogue that they've had on the club level. I would tell you there's unprecedented conversations and dialogue going on between our players, between our owners, between our club officials, between the league, and that is a really positive change for us. And we think ultimately is going to pay dividends.
You've talked a lot about having productive meetings with the players. You personally, do you understand what they're protesting, and can you explain your understanding of that?
Yes, they're very clear about it, and they're actually incredibly knowledgeable, articulate, and they've spent the time to go into the communities and talk about that. And so they really, truly understand it. They're talking about criminal justice reform, whether it's bail reform, whether it's talking about sentencing, mandatory sentencing. They're talking about changes that I think will make our communities better, that there is bipartisan support for across our nation and that need focus. They're talking about what we can do to support them to effectuate that legislative change. And that's, again, very, very positive. They're talking about equality issues, making sure that we're doing everything we possibly can to give people an opportunity, whether it's in education or economic, and what we can do to try to effectuate that. And we believe with the players that we can help them, we can support them, and those are our issues, national issues, American issues, that are all important to deal with.
Was there
Roger, hey, two-part question here. Number one, have you communicated?
Taking two questions?
Do you mind? Have you at all communicated with President Trump? Do you have any plans to communicate with President Trump? Second question is a football question. Pace of play. How happy are you with just the fact that it seems like the games are going quicker this year?
Yeah, I have not. To your first question, to the second question, we're very pleased with the pace of game changes. We've seen, in particular, what I call the double ups, and that bother me so much on the commercial format. We've seen, I think it's close to a 90% reduction in that this year, which I think is good for our fans. I think it's good for the experience of watching an NFL game, whether you're in the stadium or on television or on another platform. And we said all along this wasn't about reducing the length of games, it was the pace of the game. And so the 40-second clocks, as an example, that we put in after the point after touchdown and after the touchdowns have had a real impact. Centralizing replay and bringing the Surface tablet to the sideline so the official can do it. All of that's sped up what we consider downtime, time that's not, we don't believe is attractive to our fans. So we're happy with it. It's only 6 weeks, we've got a long ways to go, but we're continuing to see what we can do to keep pushing that because we believe that's good for the experience. Okay?